It's Dee Dee on the spot.
Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before I get to my guest here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please like and subscribe down below. We have Sarah Bogue here. She is a NASM certified personal trainer and online coach. She's our first international guest, all the way from the Great White North, that is Canada. You can also find her at www.sarahbogue.com. And she's also 5'10", which is also something that I really thought would be interesting to bring up. Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory on what got you into fitness and what kind of inspired you?
Yeah, absolutely. Growing up, I was super skinny and tall. So naturally, I went to the modeling route. So I was a fashion model on and off for about 4 or 5 years. And being in the industry, they put so much emphasis on your weight, your measurements, and how you look, and they're very critical in that sense. So if you're even like a quarter of an inch off, like they will drill you for that. Yeah. So after a while, I really wasn't having it anymore. So I went back home, like I took a look in the mirror, and I really didn't like what I saw. I didn't like how I looked. I was way underweight. I was probably about 30 or 40 pounds underweight at the time for my height and age. I was 5'10", weighed in about 100, 105 pounds, soaking wet. So I just looked in the mirror and I'm like, I don't like this. I don't look healthy. I don't feel healthy. I need to make a change. I need to start gaining weight and looking and feeling better. So the only way I really kind of knew how was through, I guess, fitness. I saw other people able to gain weight, put on muscle. So I'm like, you want to know what? I'm going to give it a try. I had no idea about fitness, nutrition, or anything at the time. So I went in there pretty lost. So I kind of like trial and error decided that I was going to do this. So I got in the gym, started like lifting some weights. Loved how I felt afterwards. I had so much energy. I started to feel better, started to feel healthier. And after a couple months, I actually started to put on some weight. And I'm like, oh, wow, like, this is pretty cool. I felt a lot healthier. I got better sleeps. I started to gain a lot more confidence. I really enjoyed going to the gym. It was a good release. Then it just like kept going. And then after a while, started to see even more results, and it just took off from there. Now I'm here. I started sharing my journey on social media a couple years ago. People really responded really positively to it, which I was really excited about.
So when you started working out, did you have kind of that, a lot of people describe that they have a fear almost of the pressure in the gym of like, they don't want people looking at them, they don't want them judging, but then as soon as you get in the gym, you realize that most people, 99% of the people are concerned just about themselves. Did you have a similar experience?
Oh my gosh, yes. When I first started, like, I was like a lost puppy. I had no idea what I was doing. I kept looking around. I was like super self-conscious because like you're new, you don't know what you're doing. You feel like people are like judging you. But after a while, you realize people are just in there to do their own thing. People aren't like staring at you and judging you and like critiquing all of your form or judging you on what you're doing. Everyone's in there to work and improve themselves. And after I realized that, after like a couple weeks, I felt a lot more comfortable. I didn't feel stressed when I went in there. And it really reflected in my workouts. I kind of like de-stressed and was able to actually work out more comfortably. And after a while, I first stuck in like the female area because I felt less judgmental and less pressure after I built that up. I slowly moved in like to the men's or I guess co-ed area. After I realized that no one is going to judge me and the guys aren't going to make fun of me for lifting weights. So after it got a little bit more comfortable, it was a lot more easier in the gym.
So Also, for all of you people out there who don't know but should know, Canada uses a different system for weight and for a lot of other things. Did you find that difficult? Well, obviously, did you find it difficult when you came over to the States to work out? Did you find it difficult kind of converting the kilograms to pounds, or is that something that you guys also learn a lot in school?
Honestly, we learned about like kilograms and stuff in school, but for the most part, like we use pounds, we use inches, and all like the dumbbells and the plates are all in pounds.
Yeah.
Unless you're like, some bumper plates will be in like kilograms and stuff. But you can quickly realize like when you pick it up, like a 10 is not a 25, or, oh shit, this is a 45. Like I got to drop it down. But for the most part, all the dumbbells are in pounds. All the plates are in pounds as well. And like I learned that growing up, that's what I use as well. So I didn't have a problem.
I always wondered why the United States doesn't adapt that metric system, because first of all, ladies should love it because it means that they'd weigh less with the kilograms. They'd say, oh, I only weigh 50 kilograms as opposed to I weigh how many pounds or whatever. So I don't get how that hasn't caught on here. But when you were also starting out, did you have sort of a mentor that you kind of learned a lot from, or was it a lot of it was self-taught?
A lot of it was self-taught. Social media and like Instagram was not big at all at the time. I don't even know if Instagram was a thing at that time. So I basically just taught myself how to work out. I did watch like a couple YouTube videos to like get some like random workouts or like figure out how to do this exercise. But for the most part, I went in there, did my own thing, figured out by trial and error. And if I really didn't know how to do something, I would look around for someone that's doing something similar and I would mirror and like copy that. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I was all self-taught, the odd YouTube video. But yeah, for the most part,
yeah,
I just did my own thing.
That's the same thing here. I mean, everyone talks about all the bad things about social media, but there are a lot of positives. Like you're able to teach yourself a lot of different things. One of the big things that I found when I was doing my research before this podcast was that you were featured in a women's health magazine. How'd you get that?
Yeah, absolutely. Super cool. Honestly, it was like a dream come true. I didn't think it was real at first. They actually reached out to me on my Instagram account. I totally thought it was fake. I totally thought they were like catfishing me or something. But they reached out and she said that she worked with Women's Health magazine, that they really loved what I represented on social media, that they were actually going to start doing a regular column or like feature in their magazines for like body positivity and healthy weight gain as opposed to weight loss. So I thought that was freaking amazing. So I'm like, okay, even if it's a catfish, I just got to reach out and like see if this is real life. Because if it is, like, I'm going to cry because this is amazing. This is like my dream come true. So she reached out. I emailed her back. We jumped on a call. I figured out, oh my God, this is real. She actually works at Women's Health. So we did a couple over the phone interviews. She really wanted to know my backstory, how I got started, a little bit about my journey, how I gained weight, my experience. So basically just like a year by year what I did and how I got started and like how I gained weight and like my struggles throughout. But yeah, we did that. It came out August 2017.
I was going to say we're close to the date or whatever. I looked at the date earlier today and we're like 4 or 5 days away from it being the 1-year anniversary of that.
I know, it was so cool. So we did the phone interviews. She wrote the article. And then they actually hired a photographer to come out to Vancouver, and we did a photo shoot to take pictures for the magazine. And I had no idea it was actually coming out at that date. I was in 7-Eleven and I saw the magazine and I like lost my shit. I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. So like I flipped through it and legit just like broke down crying because I was like so happy and like excited. And like my one dream was to be featured in a magazine, like let alone like an international magazine. and to promote something that I'm so passionate about, like healthy weight gain. I was just like so happy that I could like share my story and my struggles and like my journey with so many people. I was like so blessed and grateful for that.
Did you find that the photo shoot aspect, a lot of your prior experience in modeling helped, or since fitness usually has different poses that you use, did you find that it was a little bit more different, or how'd that work?
No, it's actually pretty similar. My background in fashion modeling definitely helped gain like experience being in front of a camera and being comfortable in front of a camera. Posing is a little bit different because you actually have to like work out and like hold the poses, and actually a lot of work. But definitely my background in fashion modeling helped me like be comfortable. I know like my best sides and like what angles look good and how to work with light. So that was definitely an asset going into the photo shoot.
Are you just like so full of adrenaline that you're like, when you're doing those movements, you're like, don't mess up, don't make him think that I can't do this? Like, are you just so full of adrenaline that you're just doing everything?
Basically. Well, when they're like telling you to hold a push-up mid push-up for like 20 seconds, you gotta hold that shit like
just like, can I put my knees down and you can get a different angle or something?
Yeah, or like hold up like a pull-up for like 10 seconds, and then you gotta do that like 20 times in a row. Like, you are just destroyed afterwards.
So one of the things that I really enjoyed about the article too is it talked about how you changed your calorie intake over the years to gain weight. You started out at around 1,200 calories, and by the end you were about 2,200. How difficult was that for you to like slowly increase those calorie intakes, or did it get a lot easier since you did it over a vast amount of time?
It was definitely hard at first, because like I started like roughly with the 1,200 calories. At the time, I had no knowledge of any nutrition whatsoever. I didn't know what to eat. I didn't know how much to eat. I knew nothing about macros. So I kind of just ate how I was eating before. And then after like working out in the gym constantly, I was like still so hungry because like your output is so much higher after you start like getting into the gym. So I'm like, okay, after a while, it's just like such low energy. I'm like, I gotta do something. So I started to like eat a little bit more. I started to do my research. And then I realized what I actually needed to eat based on my goals. So my goal was to like gain weight and gain muscle. So I needed to increase my calorie intake. So I slowly started to do that. And as I started to gain muscle and put on weight, I needed to increase the amount of calories that I was eating each day to reflect that. So after you start building muscle, your metabolism gets faster, you start burning more calories. So as a result, you need to be intaking a lot more calories. And as you start to like get more comfortable in the gym, start doing more compound movements, you burn more calories and you got to eat even more. But when I started, I had no idea about how much protein I should eat. I was scared to eat fats because I wanted to gain gain muscle and not gain fat. So just after a while, I started to like educate myself on like the proper nutrition to eat for your goals. Like how much of each should you be eating? So after I started to like educate myself, I realized how much under eating I actually was, and I slowly needed to build up those calories.
Yeah. I mean, it's so fascinating what all that eating can do for the body and how much food you really need once you're working out a lot. Like I remember watching one thing with Michael Phelps where he's having like 10,000 calories a day because of all of his training, and the dude's still one of the most lean. He has probably the most lean muscle mass out of any athlete that I've seen in a long, long time. But being a tall person as well, I'm 6'2". Did you find it difficult to put on weight? Because everyone knows the tall, lean structures, it's usually hard to put on weight. And how did you offset that?
Oh my God, the struggle is real. For being so tall, I'm tall, but I'm naturally super lean as is. So to put on any weight, let alone muscle, is extremely difficult. just because like when you do put on weight, it's so dispersed since you're so tall that even if you put on a pound, it doesn't look like you put on a pound because it's so dispersed everywhere. But if like a shorter person putting on a pound, it shows a little bit more. But you just need to realize that to put on the muscle, to put on the weight, you need to just eat more. It's a difficult road. The struggle is real. It takes a lot longer to put on muscle when you're tall, especially when you have a lean body type as well. But you just got to keep at it, be patient, trust the process, keep lifting heavy, and the results will come. When
you were starting, how did your friends and family react to you lifting? Were they very supportive, or did it take them a while?
None of my friends, like when I first started, and still now actually, none of them work out. None of them go to the gym. So they didn't really like understand why I had to go to, I wanted to go to the gym every day. They didn't understand that. When they asked to like hang out, I'm like, no, dude, like I got to go to the gym first. They're like, why do you got to go to the gym? That's crazy or whatever. Same thing with my family. They're just like, they don't work out. They're not very active people. So they're just like, why do you need to go to the gym? Like, you're already skinny. Like, you don't need to get skinnier. And I'm like, Mama, I want to put on weight. I want to put on muscle. I want to be huge.
Yeah. Have you found, like, one of the things that I found, too, since I am the one in the family that works out a lot, though, too, that you're getting asked all the time to, like, open up pickle jars. You're getting asked all the time when they bring in groceries, Ryan, can you come help us unload the groceries? Have you found that that's another response that you get, too, from a lot of people?
Oh, my God, the amount of stuff my mom is like, Sarah, you're strong. You go to the gym, you can go lift that. Or she doesn't need to do anything anymore because I could just lift that. And we'll have like competitions or whatever.
Yep.
Or like, Mom, if I can lift that like at the store or something, Mom, if I can lift that box from like the top shelf, you got to buy it for me, right? She's like, no, like we're going to go get like one of the other guys that work there to go help you. I'm like, Mama, just watch me.
I just moved in my little brother into college about a week ago, and yeah, believe me, it was always, Ryan, can you pick up the chair? Can you pick up the couch for us and help us go up there? So there is some non-benefits of working out all the time. The fact that you're basically everyone's human weightlifter for everything. Basically, yes. But how'd you deal with the beginner gains? What most people, and I'll explain to other people listening here, the beginner gains are usually your body when it's first adjusting to working out. You put on a lot of muscle a little bit easier than you will further on in your journey because just it's new and it's not used to having that sort of reaction. But once your beginner gains are somewhat gone, it becomes harder to maintain that steady growth. How did you deal with that?
Actually had no idea about that when I first started out. I had no knowledge about that. But since I had no nutrition like background or knowledge at all, when I actually first started like working out, I wasn't eating for my goals. So I was actually I put on muscle, but I was actually getting leaner, like losing body fat because I wasn't eating enough. So essentially like I was like going down in weight a little bit. I looked a lot leaner, but I had like a little bit of muscle or whatever. But yeah, after like a couple months or whatever, I started to realize that I wasn't eating enough, started to like gain that knowledge. And then I actually started to see like some actual results, but I had no idea about like the beginner gains. I did see a lot of results, and that's what gave me the momentum to keep pushing forward. And like to strive to get more muscle, but I had no idea.
And
I literally just found out about that like probably about a month ago. I'm not gonna lie. I saw this like article on Instagram, so I like clicked on it and read it, and I'm like, oh my God, like the first year, like you gain like 20 to 25% like of like your body mass or whatever, and then it goes down to like 10 to 12 after like year like 2 to 3, and after like 4 and above it's like 3 to 6 or something. So I'm like, oh my God, this is insane.
And a lot of people, when they talk about like how they don't understand how some people could like use substances or use performance enhancing drugs, that's probably one of the reasons I think deep down is because they get those beginner gains, and then when they start to realize that they're not able to maintain that steady growth, they then say, oh, I'm maybe gonna have to supplement it to kind of keep up with that. So I think just with education too, along with everything, if you just educate people that, you can help stop, you know, them from doing stuff that could potentially harm their body. And being a personal trainer and online coach, what would you say is the biggest excuse that people have when you ask them to adapt a healthier lifestyle? What's their biggest excuse for not doing it?
I don't have time. 100%. I don't have time. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to meal prep. I don't have time to go buy healthy groceries. I'm sorry, guys. That's total bullshit. That's bullshit. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. It's how you choose to allocate them that's going to make a big difference. So if you say you don't have time, that's really saying that your goals don't matter. Like, this is not important to you. Like, if they were important to you, you'd make the effort and make the time. You make the time for what's important to you. So I really try to, like, push this through, like, my online clients when they're like, I'm like, oh, like, how's your nutrition this week? Like, how, like, did you make it to the gym, like, X amount of times? Or, like, oh, like, I really didn't have time to eat healthy this week. I didn't have time to go to the gym. I really wasn't feeling it. So you really have to just, like, build up their mindset and like create the motivation to like keep pushing forward and make the time, and just make them realize that these are your goals. Like, this is important to you. You got to stick with it. You got to make a plan. You got to schedule in the workouts. You got to put in the work. And most people just don't want to do that.
Exactly. It's just they have so many excuses, and then when you finally start working out, you kind of realize, hey, I actually do have enough time if I just do this and mix and match. And being also a personal trainer, you probably have had to deal with, there's still the myth, like I said, for every one of the health and fitness guests that we've had on here, it's gotten better the last 5 years with Instagram, but women have that dreaded fear that if they touch a weight, for some reason, they'll turn into Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, or they'll turn into someone like Hulk Hogan. When dealing with that, what do you usually respond to it? Because obviously, I mean, you'd have to be training nonstop. You'd have to have just strict nutrition in order to gain, even especially for women, to gain a significant amount of muscle. What do you use to kind of let them know that, hey, that's not going to happen?
I use myself as an example. I've been lifting heavy ass weights for 5 years, and do I look big and bulky? Heck no. It takes years to develop that muscle, and like, women don't have like the muscle growth capabilities to build that muscle so quickly. So yeah, I just use myself as an example. I lift weights, heavy weights, major compound lifts 5-6 days a week for the past 4 or 5 years. I'm not big and bulky.
Do you have during your training, do you have a specific day each week that's a rest day, or do you kind of just mix it up?
I usually mix it up, depending how, like, what my schedule is like. If it's like a crazy busy week, on my busiest day of the week, I'll probably like take a rest day. But usually, like, midweek, I'll have like a rest day, or like a Sunday or something that I just like want to chill on a weekend or something. But it usually changes depending on my schedule.
You're also, I mean, your passion and your job are also one of the same things, but have you ever found that when you're training people all the time, when you're talking about fitness and nutrition, that when the time comes for you to actually get your workout in, you're kind of like, oh, I'm really sick of like talking about nutrition, or I'm really sick of the whole fitness thing just for the day. Let's just take the day off. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, you definitely get those days. Definitely get those days for sure, because you're in a gym all day, or you're talking about fitness, or you're putting together programs. Like, the last thing you want to do is go back in the gym and go train yourself after like a 10-hour day or like a 12-hour day or something. But whenever I have those days, that's when like my years of practicing discipline kicks in. So when your motivation is lacking, that's when your like years of practice and like discipline kicks in. And then you just get that shit done regardless. You just got to like remember your goals, remember why you're doing it. And just got to push through regardless about how you're feeling.
I got to put a Canada question in here now. How many times do you hear sorry in the gym when you guys are lifting? If like you guys are maybe reaching for the same barbell and it's just, oh, sorry. Is that just become like, is that just blaring on the loudspeaker where you just hear sorries galore? How does that work?
Oh my God, that's so true. Like someone else will like straight up walk into me and I'll be like, oh, sorry.
Sorry for existing.
Yeah, it's just such a reaction. I have no idea, but I guess it's good to be polite. Everyone just throws it left, right, and center.
Yeah, we have Minnesota nice where I live, but you Canadians are the nicest people, hands down. And I actually read something interesting about that, how there's a theory that Canadians developed their politeness from the fact that a lot of in the early days they were secluded in the north in the winter or whatever, and if you're stranded in the, let's say, the middle of the road in the car and someone goes by, you want that person to be polite. So that kind of developed as a national thing to be polite to everyone, to help it out. It was a very interesting article, but I was like, that might be true. But yeah, I've never been to Canada, but I'd love to go there. I have a mini story here. I drove up to, I'm about an hour and a half away from Duluth, which is close to the border of Canada, and I was visiting friends, and I had like 4 hours to spare, so I said, I'm going to go drive up to the border of Canada, and then so I drove up to the border, and I told the Border Patrol agent, I said, I don't want to do anything. Can you just let me technically step over the border so I can at least tell people that I've been to another country? And they let me do it. So I put 2 feet in Canada, and then I turned and walked away. So I've I've been an international traveler, everyone. So there's that.
So proud of you.
Exactly. I've explored. I've been an explorer. So how was your first prep like, and did your other preps differ from that prep?
Ooh. So my first year competing was 2017. I actually did 3 shows in 9 weeks. Wow. And they were honestly such good preps. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed the process the first year. I was so excited and like motivated and driven, just like step on stage and show like all my hard work. Cause I never actually thought I would get to this point that I'd be able to build enough muscle to like hold my own on stage with these like amazing athletes that have like incredible bodies. So I was just like so excited, and like I wanted to go through the process. I wanted to put in the work. I actually had a really good first prep. After the show, I did not place how I wanted. It was a big wake-up call to realize the quality and caliber of athletes that are actually out there. It was a huge wake-up call. I realized like what my shortcomings were, what I needed to work on. That was in the open stream. I decided that the tested stream was the way to go, since I am a natural athlete. So I did go to the natural route for my second show. So I did 7 weeks later, I competed again. I ended up placing second. I was super excited and so proud. Transitioning between shows was a little bit rough, just because you go from one show to the other and like you just got to get your head back into it. So first couple weeks it was a little rough, because you got to jump right back into your meal plan, and your body is just kind of, after like 16 weeks, it's like, okay, like you need a break, and then you have to keep going. But you just got to remember why you're doing this, remember your goals. After a couple weeks, I got a little bit easier going into my second show. And then 2 weeks later, I actually had my third show, which was provincials. And I placed 4th in the province. I was super excited about that. Super proud. In between preps, the 2 weeks wasn't too bad. It wasn't too long. I basically just did like back-to-back peak weeks and just maintained, which was good. Came in with a little bit of a tighter package. But yeah, placed 4th in the province, and then got to place and go to nationals this year, actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, I took the rest of the summer and the fall and winter off to kind of reverse diet properly to build up my metabolism. Then I did a pretty aggressive bulk into the fall and winter. And then January hit, and we just went into prep really hard for nationals.
So you and me are similar in that we both have pale skin. I'd say that I can't go outside that much when the sun's out a lot because I'll either get a farmer's tan or really, really burnt. What was the feeling like for you when you put on that tanner for the first time and you realize, oh my God, I actually look like I actually like go to the beach a lot? What was that feeling like?
I felt like an Oompa Loompa. It was so weird.
Yeah.
Because you're so dark and you're not not used to seeing your skin that dark. You look so different. But it's cool. It's like, oh, look at me. Did
it feel like you were like a different person too? Because that stuff really like highlights your muscles and makes them like really pop out. Were you kind of like, oh my God, I actually do look jacked or whatever?
Oh my God! Like someone like took my picture, just like my posing right after I got my my show tan, just so I could send it to my coach. And I'm like, oh my God, I have muscles I did not know I had. I'm like, look at that back.
Yeah, why don't I just go like this all the time? Just have like a spray tan thing like in the shower that just spray tans you the whole day.
That would be amazing. Your muscles just like they show and pop more when you're tan, but when you're pasty,
yeah,
you don't get that.
Do you know why? Do you know why that is? I've never really got down to it. Is it just from the stuff kind of makes a reaction that makes them more pronounced, or how does that work?
It's just like the color and the shading, like in like the saturation, like you can see the lines more.
Yeah, kind of like the lighting for photos that people use all the time, which you're a master of. How is your master of modeling really helped as Instagram too, since you know kind of how to take the perfect pics?
It's definitely helped, especially with like the fitness photo shoots, being comfortable in front of a camera. Definitely helped, especially when I'm taking my own pictures as well. I feel more comfortable being in front of the camera. Previously I've had like a little bit of experience like talking into a camera just for like auditions and like castings and stuff. You have to, so that's definitely helped on the Instagram side for sure.
One of the big things that we like to ask people too, I've had a lot of up-and-coming musicians on the show, and I like to ask them like the thrill of performing live, what that feeling is like. And I think that also can apply for bodybuilding shows. What is that feeling like for you when you're walking on stage? You get to show off all the hard work and people are cheering, and all of your prep, which can be a living hell for a lot of people, finally seems to pay off. All that's worth it. What's that feeling like for you specifically?
Oh my God, it's the coolest experience because it's like, when you compete, like show day, it's like, it's your day. Like you work so hard, for like 20 plus weeks. Like that minute you get on stage, like you own that shit. Like you get up there and like you work it. Like this is your time. So you get to step on and like do your routine and like show off your sets and like show off like the package. Like you just like get up there and you're just like so proud of all your accomplishments. And then like, yeah, like you said, like the people are cheering. It's just such a cool experience.
Did a lot of people that we've had on too have talked about how some competitors wink or they try to make little subtle hints that get the judges' attention? Have you done anything like that?
Oh, you definitely make eye contact, I guess, with all the judges, especially like when you're posing and stuff. But transitioning from like front to back and back to front when you do like the booty pop. Oh yeah. You do like the booty pop, look over the shoulder, and you make eye contact with that judge. And you do like a little head nod, like, "Hey, what's up?"
I always said if I ever did anything like that, first of all, I would hire a pyrotechnician to have fireworks go off in the background when I come on stage. I'd have like a dollar bill that would like I'd have a dollar bill hanging out of my back pocket and have it fall down and be like, "Oops, I dropped my $100 bill." Then like bend over, butt flex while I'm going down, and then just like pull it back up. Oh, I'll put that back there. I would work it like none other. It would be a show for the ages.
You gotta stand out, right?
Exactly. You peacocking. Yeah, just come out with like a cape and like feathers.
Like, help yourself stand out. Like you do that. Like you make eye contact with them. You do like a little. You do your booty pop. You did a little wink.
I just want one competitor just to come out just like an average person, just like a zombie, just like walk out and then just like not even care. But then at the very last second, just like pop like the greatest pose or whatever. Post show. Yeah, post show. What is your go-to meal that you have after a show?
Don't laugh. Okay, my last show at Nationals. my first post-show meal was a salad. I kid you not. I was like, my body was so deprived from like the proper nutrients because of peak week that I just wanted like some sustenance. Like I just wanted some like greens and vegetables and like real food. So that's what I ate. But before that, I did crush some my Reese's Pieces. Those Reese's Pieces little mini cups. Those went down for sure. Reese's definitely are my go-to.
If I was your coach, I would have literally held your mouth open and force-fed hamburgers, and you would have be like, "No salad for you. You need to be rewarded." But
that's all I wanted. Like, I need some actual food, girl. You feed me some food.
Yeah.
I had ice cream after, like the Reese's clusters, the peanut butter cups. Like I got it in, so don't worry.
Yeah. So one of the things we also like to discuss on here is after a show, people usually they don't realize, the general public, that you are going to gain a lot of weight back. Your body, you've kind of manipulated your body into looking a certain way, into looking the best that it could be, and it's not going to last. How do you mentally prepare yourself for the fact knowing that I'm not going to be this lean, or I'm not going to be this jacked for a while? How does that work?
It's super rough mentally, to be honest. This past prep I did in May, I'm still struggling with it. I came out of this prep with a lot of body dysmorphia. I developed a couple eating disorders because of it. I went super deep into prep, and I lost about 30 pounds. So I dropped from like 143 to like 114, 115, and at like 5'10", that's definitely not a healthy weight. I did not feel good. I did not feel healthy. I didn't really like how I looked. I wasn't really comfortable going that low, but I really need to come in conditioning wise. So definitely after the show, seeing this scale go up, like it's a mind fuck. Like you want to gain weight and like feel better and look better, but like to see the scale go up, it's so rough. So it plays like a mind game, and then you're so used to being so lean for so long. When you start to gain weight and you lose the cuts and you lose your abs, like it's super, super rough, and you're super hard on yourself. And like I said, like my body dysmorphia kicked in, and I developed binge eating, which I've never dealt with before, and it was super rough. Like reverse dieting, like your calories are so low that you can't just spike it up, otherwise it'll ruin your metabolism. So you slowly got to add like calories in every like couple weeks and increase your macros. But like your body is like saying, freaking feed me. I'm still so hungry. So that's when like my binge eating like really started this year. And then from binge eating, I started to purge and developed bulimia as well. So whenever I would binge eat, I purged and developed bulimia as well. That was super unhealthy. And I was scared to gain weight, and I was scared to eat fat, and I was like scared to like up my macros just because I didn't want to get fat. And then my restrictive eating developed again as well. It's something I've dealt with in the past. So it's actually called orthorexia. And it's when you have excessive restrictive eating in your diet. So you will cut out specific foods from your diet. It's an actual eating disorder that I actually didn't really realize was an actual eating disorder until recently. So I would like cut out certain foods. So like I didn't eat pizza, I didn't eat burgers, I didn't eat fries, like I didn't eat ice cream, like I didn't eat anything. Like I just like stuck to like my clean diet. It didn't increase my macros like my coach wanted. And then I was like super upset that I started developing these like eating disorders. I've reached out and like have gotten help, but I'm like on the road to recovery. I haven't binge eat or like purged in a week, which is good. Celebrating those small wins, but I'm like slowly gradually like getting more comfortable, eating a little bit more. Like I've set some goals in the gym and for my physique, so it's a little bit easier for me mentally to process that I need to eat more to reach those goals. And I'm working on those eating disorders as well. But yeah, it's super tough mentally. you don't realize until you come out, like, how much it kind of messes with your brain, and that, like, further you get into prep and, like, the deeper you get in, and, like, the more weight you lose, like, the harder it is to, like, come off of it, like healthy mentally. But it's rough, like, those post prep stuff, it's real.
I'm just gonna say, you look absolutely tremendous right now. So,
oh, thank you.
Yeah, no word. I'm just saying that. I mean, don't ever get down. I mean, you look so great right now. Just, yeah, it's one of those things where I know a lot of people that have, like, suffered from stuff like that too, because when I worked out, I became friends with a lot of people, and it is one of the sucky things. But especially being on Instagram and being an Instagram model and being an online personal trainer coach, did you feel that extra added pressure that you have to look amazing all the time in order for, like, people to say, like, oh my God, she's legit, like, I can go and trust her? Did you find that to be true?
Well, 100%. Like, it's especially when you're a coach and a trainer, you want a trainer that, like, practices what they preach.
You don't want, like, a 350-pound guy being like, oh yeah, you got to run the treadmill a little bit more.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, you don't look like you're credible if you're extremely overweight. You might be extremely knowledgeable, but when people are just looking at you for the first time and say that you're a personal trainer or an online coach, you don't look credible if you are extremely overweight. So that, like, added pressure was definitely there for sure. Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's a tough business, but it's one of those things where we really need it, because, I mean, the U.S. is getting really obese now still, but Canada's, I mean, all developed countries are getting a lot more obese. What are some ways that you think that all these nations, or just even North America in specific, could do in order to help sort of curb the tide of obesity? Definitely just trying to be as active as possible, get up and move. Even if it's just walking a little bit more, like getting in the gym a couple more times a week, or just, like, being more active on a regular basis. You didn't need to go to the gym, just, like, get up and walk a little bit more, increase your steps, like set, like, a step goal, like 10,000 steps, you'll burn 500 calories. And that after a week, that's 1 pound. So if you, like, set a step goal at 10,000 steps a day, you will burn an extra 500 calories, and you will burn a pound a day. No, a pound a week, sorry. Like, that's a lot. Like, just increasing, like, your daily activity will, like, help so much. And, like, obviously nutrition comes into, like, a huge play when it comes to this. So cutting out refined sugars and cutting out, like, the junk food, and, like, you'll be surprised, like, even cutting out, like, 1 pop a day over a week, like, that's, like, half a pound lost just by cutting out 1 pop a day. Or instead of getting, like, a burger and fries, you get a burger and salad. Like, just by switching to the salad, you're gonna, like, save, like, 400 calories. Like, after a while, all of those add up.
Absolutely. It's just, and I think it's small steps too. So a lot of people just try these binge diets, or they try just really, really quickly to lose all this weight. And then they get to a point where they lose the weight, but then they haven't adapted the lifestyle in order to sustain it. So then they just gain all the weight back again, and then it becomes sort of pointless. So I encourage everyone, though, too, to take baby steps. Take it easy. I mean, you don't have to lose 50 pounds over a matter. First of all, it's not even, there's studies that say that, like, you can only gain, for men and women, it's a little bit different, but I heard it's, like, only like a pound or maybe 2 pounds a month of muscle at the most, like, if you're doing it naturally. So it's going to take a while. It's one of those things where it just doesn't happen overnight, which is very discouraging for people, because they don't realize that, it's going to take a few months to even start to see stuff, but just stick with it. And especially with the gaining muscle thing, I mean, it's going to take a while, but it's definitely worth it months or years down the road. I mean, you can just look at Sarah for the years down the road thing. I mean, it's definitely worth it if you just take one look at her. So now we go to our 5 questionnaire part of the podcast. This is our favorite part of the podcast. Everyone seems to enjoy this the most. This is the fitness edition of it. I do the musician edition of it, and that seems to be popular, but the fitness edition is coming up in popularity as well. So for our first question, what is your go-to workout song?
Ooh, Down with the Sickness, Disturbed.
Finally, you're the first one here that like has the hardcore stuff as their pump up song. A lot of people were like, "Oh, a Katy Perry song or something like that." I was like, "No, I got to get amped up too." So I have like my Metallica or my Iron Maiden on, and you got to catch the beat right, especially when I'm doing like curls or when I'm doing like lat pull downs. Yeah. You got to get the beat right so that you can just crush it. Absolutely, Down with the Sickness is a huge one too. But I have a downstairs gym set up, so I can't really blare the music. I wait until like no one's home, and then I just blare it. But yeah, I definitely the heavy stuff is definitely where it's at. Now for our second,
so fired up.
Absolutely, and it's one of those things. It's all about getting that mindset too of just in the gym. If you go there and you're like a zombie, just like you're not gonna want to do as much. But if you get the nice pumped up music, it really really helps. So for our second question, if there was any celebrity in the world that you could train, who would it be and why?
Dude, The Rock. He is so effing legit. Like, he is my favorite celebrity, favorite athlete of all time. Not because he's, like, an actor or anything. Just because of his, like, hard work and dedication, motivation, and just drive and work ethic is absolutely amazing. And I respect him so much for that. It's just, like, so, like, admirable to see like such a hard-working individual that's like so down to earth and like it's just that he would just to meet him and just talk to him would be like amazing.
His workouts are so insane. Like I looked him up and then he eats like pounds of asparagus like a day, and it's so dedicated that I just can't believe, but it works. I mean, his arms are bigger than my thighs, so I just don't get, and with his busy schedule that he has shooting all those movies, I don't get how he does it, but more power to him. And that's the third answer. The third time someone said Dwayne The Rock if they could train with a celebrity. So he's taking an early lead. This is the 6th health and fitness guest that we've had on, so he's taking an early lead there. And then third, out of all the health and fitness people in the industry, if you could work out with any one of them for one workout, who would it be and what would you train?
Ooh, health and fitness. Okay. Amanda Latona. And we be training booty. She has the most, like, amazing butt. Like, she's worked her butt for, like, 15 years. And it's incredible. So to be able to, like, work out with her and, like, snag some of her, like, glute building tricks would be, like, amazing.
The one thing that I always say to guys who complain about, like, when they see, like, girls on the treadmill or doing anything like that, they're like, oh, they don't even lift. And I tell them, guys, we have to remember one thing. They have to work out their legs and butt a lot more than we do. We don't have to do squats as much. We just have to do upper body. Girls have the real struggle of, because everyone hates leg, or a lot of guys I know at least, leg workout is the worst thing ever. A lot of guys just don't even do it. But girls got to put the time in. So I say you have to respect that. They got to put the time and dedication in. So it's definitely, Amanda Latonia, I agree with you on that one. So if there was one thing that you could change about bodybuilding, what would it be?
Probably the use of steroids. Just because it's, like, especially in the last couple of years, like, so many people have, like, physically died because of the amount of, like, drugs and steroids that they've been taking. And it just gives, like, the industry such a bad rap. Everyone just expects, oh, you're a bodybuilder. The only way that you could, like, make the gains or, like, build muscle, like, you must be taking drugs or something. Like, they just expect it. And it gives, like, the industry such a bad rap when so many people are natural athletes who work their ass off and get a bad rap because of it. Absolutely. That's one of the huge things. The worst thing for me, though, is those idiots that inject their muscles with, like, synthol, and then they have, like, these 30-inch biceps, and then their arms pop, and then they wonder why they happen. When I don't get that. But yeah, steroids are a huge thing. In your shows, I heard, though, that only for the natural shows, only the winners get tested for steroids. Is that true? Yes, that's true.
How embarrassing is that if you lost and you still took steroids and then you lose a natural show?
I know, it's terrible. Normally, if you come first place, like, depending on the show, of course, usually if you place first or second, they will test you. They will literally escort you off stage and take you right to the bathroom so you can take a pee test. Some shows, even at nationals, I don't even think the first place person got tested.
Wow.
Which is quite unfortunate because you never know. People could take take a risk and do that. But I know even the natural shows, it's quite unfortunate, but people cycle off well enough out of their show that it won't show up on any drug tests or anything. But it is what it is. If they want to come into a natural show and cheat, that is what it is. It's the sport. So you just kind of have to like take it with a grain of salt, come in with your best package and best attitude, and just hope for the best.
Yeah. And then lastly, for our 5 questions, and I have a special edition of 5 questions that I will unveil after this, but our last of the 5 questions is, if you were stranded on an island with only one piece of gym equipment, what would it be?
Oh. Like a squat rack? Can I say like a squat rack?
You can do a squat rack, yeah.
Okay, like a squat rack with like bumper plates. I could do entire workouts and work out anything by just using that. So I'd be okay with that.
I would just say, give me 2 dumbbells and I'll make a workout out of anything.
That's true.
Yeah, but yeah, I just came up with that question, so that's a separate category, because originally I had 4 and then I made it 5.
I like it.
But now we have a whole new category, a special limited edition Canadian questionnaire. She's our first international guest. So the first thing I got to ask is something that we talked about ahead of time. And it's very strange to me. I don't get why this is happening. It makes Canadians seem just really weird. But a lot of people in America know the thing that Canadians sometimes have milk stored in bags. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
This is the most ridiculous thing ever. Yes, it's true. In Vancouver and on like the West Coast, or I'm not sure where in Canada this starts or whatever, if it's only in Ontario, but in the West Coast, we have our milk in cartons. We have them in like our gallon like milk jugs or whatever. But then like when I moved to Ontario, it freaked me out. They have their freaking milk in bags. It's so weird. They have no like 4-liter 1 gallon milk jugs. They don't have like the 2-liter or like half-gallon like milk cartons. They have freaking bags, and like it's so weird. I haven't bought one and I've lived here a year. Like I guess I drink almond milk, but it's so weird. I don't like it.
I was gonna say, yeah, especially for being someone who's in the fitness thing, you're gonna drink a lot of milk, so it's gonna be that would just be a weird adjustment for me. But what is the main reason behind you drinking almond milk? Do you just like the flavor or the benefits more for you?
I do like the flavor, but just the lower calories. Like.
Okay.
Even if you drink like 1% or like skim milk, like the calories are a little bit higher. And when you're like pretty stingy on like poverty carbs and like poverty calories, you need to save those macros. So that's why I usually opt for like a 35 calorie per serving almond milk.
Now, this is a question that could also apply to Minnesota, where I'm from, and a little bit of the northern United States. But being in Canada, it's going to get pretty cold in the winter. How do you deal with still being motivated to work out? Because, like we say here in Minnesota, you only have to look good 6 months out of the year, because the other 6 months you're going to be bundled up in sweaters anyway, so no one's going to care. But how do you still find the motivation in those winter days when it can get to negative degrees and you're going to have to wear like 6 layers? How do you find that motivation to still go to the gym?
You just make it happen. I remember last winter I would be getting up at 4:30 a.m. And it would be like negative 30 outside, and you got to walk your ass to your car outside. And it'd be freezing at like 4:30 in the mornings because you have to get your workout in. But if that happens, like that's when like discipline kicks in. You just get shit done. Remember, like this is your goals. You got to make it happen. This is what you got to do. You just make it happen. And if you're really not feeling it, you bundle your shit up, you put on some like super awesome tunes, and you just go to town.
I have one story. One time it was negative 25, and I went to go unlock my car to go drive to work in the morning, and my car key broke because it was so cold that the lock had frozen. So when I tried to turn it, the car key snapped, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And then it got jammed in there. So then I had to call in late for work. I didn't go to work that day, and then I had to have a guy come out and reinstall a new car lock for the car. So yeah, the struggle, everyone, and I just hate scraping the car in the morning, especially when it's really, really cold. People never understand that struggle.
You not only gotta scrape your car, you gotta stand outside where you're freaking scraping.
And the biggest thing too that I gotta remind everyone: if you're going to sweat in the gym, make sure you are completely dried off by the time you leave. I had one time in college where My hair was wet, came back to my dorm room. I had frosted tips, basically. My hair was frozen solid. I mean, the girls loved it because I looked like a Backstreet Boy for about 15 minutes. But after it dried off, you know, things went back to normal. But yes, make sure that you're all dry. So then for our third Canadian question, have you seen a moose ever just in nature?
I don't think I've seen an actual moose, but I went hiking on like Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
It was Sunday, and I saw like 6 deer, and they weren't even scared. They were like 2 feet away from me.
Wow. Yeah.
It was like so weird. They just like looked at you and like did their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh shit. And then I walked like 2 feet. I'm like, oh my God, another one. Another one. There was like 6 deer. It was awesome.
That's awesome. So my brother he played up in Canada. He played in Kelowna, which is I think closest to Vancouver, I think. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, it's about 4 hours away.
About 4 hours away, yeah. So he played for the Kelowna baseball team. He was a baseball player, and he played there for one summer. And he said when he came back that we always asked him, we always said, oh, so do they really say A at the end of everything that they say? And he goes, you guys will never believe it, but that's actually true. Is it true for you in your experience that people say A at basically at the end of everything? Is that stereotype true?
In a sense, yes, but not how you guys think it. It's like, you guys say it and take it out of context. We use it as like, we say A as in really, like,
yeah.
Oh, it's really cold out today, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really cold out today, really?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't actually say like, I don't know, like, pass that hockey stick, eh? Like,
that's a nice shot, eh? Yeah.
Here, eh? Like, no way. Like, but yes, we do throw it around, and people make fun of me for it. We get a good laugh.
Yep. Exactly. So have you found, and then for our last Canadian question, what would you say is the biggest difference between Canada and the United States? Since you've been to the States a couple of times, what would you say is the biggest difference?
Oh my God. That's hard.
I know it's hard because everyone talks about, but like Canada and the US are such close culturally that they're not the same country, but the values and the culture are so similar, more than any two countries I think in the world, but there are some differences. But yeah, it is hard to find out one.
It really depends like where you go in the States. Like I've been to like California and Washington.
Oh yeah.
Like it's pretty similar, but like if you go down to like New York, whatever,
or like Texas
like,
or any place, yeah.
Yeah, like I guess the people aren't like as nice.
Yeah,
like, especially the people in like
in New York
and stuff. Like they're very to themselves. Like they're very like they come off like really like standoffish or whatever. But you come up here and like you walk up to someone, ask them a question, they will like go out of their way to like make sure your question's answered. Or, like, if you give you directions, they'll basically just like take you there themselves, kind of thing.
Going to New York too, yeah, I had that same experience. Me and my family we went there for vacation one year, and we walked up to a guy and we asked for directions. He said, "Mind your own business, a-holes." And then we're like, "Oh, I guess that's the New York way." It's like we had never been talked to ever like that in Minnesota ever, so we're like, "What the heck?" So yeah, that was definitely interesting. And I was gonna ask. Everyone talks, I think the unknown part of Canada that especially no one in the States really talks about is Quebec. No one really seems to give them that much mind, the whole French-speaking part. But do you know French? And if you haven't, has that been difficult for you ever dealing with people from Quebec? Or are there areas that you live by that are a lot more French-dominated?
Oh, I do not speak a lick of French. I think I had to take it for a couple years growing up in like elementary school and high school, but I took like as soon as I could like drop French, I did because I really did enjoy it. I took Spanish, so I think I know more Spanish than I do French actually. I've never been to Quebec, so I have no idea. They kind of just like do their own thing, stick to themselves quite a bit. But yeah, there's like a Quebec. I've been to Montreal actually. One of my like latest competitions was there. Everyone speaks English.
Oh yeah.
So it's pretty easy. Like if you go into it, like if you start speaking English, everyone there knows English and French. the only problem you'd have if you go to like a restaurant, sometimes they don't have English menus and they might get offended if you ask for an English menu. Or you really have no idea like how to read a French menu. That was one of my problems in Montreal. Yeah, I had no idea what the food was. So I basically just like pointed and I'm like, yeah, I'll get that. I was
gonna say, like, when everyone thinks of Canada, they always think of the English speaking part, and they forget that like a fourth of the population speaks French as their majority language. But it's always nice to remind the people. So where can people find you? I mean, I know you have an Instagram page. I know you have a website, www.sarahbogue.com. Are there any other ways that people can contact you?
Yeah, I'm big on Instagram. At Sarah B Fit is my own personal page. That's where I share like my fitness journey and like my day-to-day life. I also have, I guess, a work page that I started a couple weeks ago, I guess, at Sarah Bogue _. But I'm mainly active on my personal page, so hit me up at Sarah B _fit. That's where I will be.
And lastly, if someone were to walk up to you on the street and say, hey, I'm really thinking about losing weight and starting a more healthy, fit lifestyle, what would be the best piece of advice that you could give them?
Ooh, start with your nutrition. That's hands down. Like, if you want to make like any weight gain or anything, or start your journey or get started in any way, start with your nutrition. It is about, people say it's 80%. It's probably more than that. It's probably about 90% nutrition when it comes down to it. So getting like your healthy eating and a meal plan or your macros down, having that kind of like in line first will definitely help you like getting started and actually like see results.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'd personally say, though, too, I'd say follow her on Instagram as well, because all of those working out and all those pics, you will be motivated to go to the gym. You will want to put down those Twinkies and say, oh, my God, I want to look like that. I mean, Sarah, it was great having you on, absolutely. We wish you nothing but the best. If you need anything, if you want to come back on, you're more than welcome to. I mean, it was great talking to you. It was great having our first international guest. I'll plug Canada one last time. And everyone go and follow her on Instagram. I'll leave the links down below to all of her stuff. Everyone definitely go check her out. We really appreciate you sharing your story, too, because I know it's a personal thing and it can be hard to share sometimes, but I really, really appreciate you sharing your struggles with eating the last few months. It was really cool. So, I mean, yeah, before we wrap it up here, do you have any last things you'd like to say?
I just want to say thank you so much for reaching out and for having me. It was so much fun. I always like to share my journey, where I came, where I'm at. I always like to be super real with people, even if it's hard to share some super personal stuff that I'm going through. I know that if I'm going through it, so many other people are, and if I can help anybody, even if it's just one person or reach a couple people through my own struggles and anything that's helped me get through it and help them, it's a win-win for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we greatly, greatly appreciate it. And lastly, the last thing I totally forgot that I was going to ask is, you have such like a bubbly personality, and you seem like to be really open and really nice. And I know that that's part of the Canadian in you, but have you always been like that, or is it something that you kind of developed? Because we've had people on here that say that they were never like that, really, but then when they got really, really fit, it kind of helped their overall mood. How has that been with you?
I've always been like a super happy person, but I didn't always have like the most confident. So I was never really like that outgoing if I didn't really know you. So I didn't really have the confidence to really be myself at first, but once I started to get to know people, I started to open up. But definitely getting into the fitness industry and gaining the confidence, I was able to like be more comfortable and like outgoing as the years went on. Well,
that's great. And once again, lastly, ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Bogue, I highly recommend going and checking her out. If you have any questions, health and nutrition wise, I'd ask her to. She definitely looks like she knows what she's talking about. So, yeah, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the Spot, signing out. Have a great night, everyone.